Hello and welcome to Preparation Avengers, a weekly podcast with up-to-date impressions on every film in the MCU leading up to Infinity War on April 27th. I'm your moderator, Thomas Rogers, and joining me this week, Danny DKP Kilpatrick.
Good evening, boys.
Paul Pep Burns.
That's me.
And Alex Idafy Hernandez.
Asleep for the money, awake for the danger.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You should keep that one around. This week we're going to be talking about Guardians
I still
of the
like
Galaxy.
Hispanic John Stamos, personally.
Okay. I'm okay with that, too.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So let's hit some facts. This film was released August 1st, 2014. It had a budget of $232 million. Cap 2's budget, Winter Soldier's budget, was $177 million. So they gave this movie like $60 million extra.
It deserved every penny of it.
It's weird because we were talking about this. We were talking about a couple of weeks ago how weird it was comparing Thor's to Cap 2's, and I was like, because Cap 2 had a bigger budget, and what I said was, it's weird to me that Cap 2 had a bigger budget considering the Asgard stuff. And then I was like, well, I guess the majority of the movie was filmed in front of a green screen, so it would cost less. And here we are with Guardians of the Galaxy, which definitely the majority of this movie was filmed in front of green screens, and they got $60 million more. So I have no clue what I'm talking about ever. It had a box office return of $773 million compared to Cap 2's $644 million.
Hell yeah.
So it did very well.
But it does actually, you know what that makes me think of is Black Panther, which just crossed 1 billion.
Yeah, Black Panther just crossed $1 billion.
Jesus Christ. Like, and to compare that to how well, now I have a perspective.
Is that
for
just domestic,
700.
Tommy, or does that include China?
This is worldwide.
Okay.
And as for Black
China's
Panther,
like, that's where it really counts.
Yeah, especially like over the last decade.
but I just wanted to call out how well Black Panther is doing, because this movie was a huge hit.
For sure. China has single-handedly like ensured we're going to get 30 more Transformers movies and ensured we're going to get a sequel to World of Warcraft.
That's what I was about to say. They ensured that maybe one day we'll get up to like seeing Arthas and all that shit.
I still haven't seen that, by the way.
Dude, it's not bad.
I saw it when I was looking for, like, after I got the 4K TV, I was looking at the 4K movies, and I was like, I bet this would look really good in 4K. But
it probably would. But you get to see Green Jesus.
I like Jesus.
Yeah, as long as you're open-minded, it's a fine
As somebody
movie
who's never played World of Warcraft, like, it's real simple to just go in there with no expectations. It's not a waste of an afternoon,
is what I'd say.
Cool. So yeah, this was directed by James Gunn. His other credits include Slither, Super.
I've been meaning to watch Super.
He did some stuff in Movie 43, which, if you guys haven't seen that, it's one of the worst movies ever made.
It certainly is.
And he directed Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He directed a bunch of other, like, smaller things. He got his start, and we'll talk about this later, but he got his start making trauma films.
Seriously?
Which, by the way, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this real now.
I've got it outlined in the Secrets of the Marvel
like
Universe.
Toxic Avenger and shit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Directed by Lloyd Kaufman. I don't remember him.
Yep.
Well, I guess we'll talk about that later.
I mean, we can go ahead and throw it
Lloyd
in.
Kaufman's in this
weird.
motherfucking film.
Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman.
Oh, I had no idea.
He's one of the prisoners when they first get in there. He's
that's
he's
so
just in the
cool.
middle of a crowd screaming at him.
There's
there's
a couple of prisoners in there.
There's a whole
we're gonna
list
talk
of
to.
cameos,
Yeah.
that we're definitely going to
But I was like, Lloyd Kaufman, what? How the fuck is he? Why is he in here? I didn't know James Gunn did any trauma films. So
Yeah. I actually met Lloyd Kaufman, and he took a Chainsaw Ape card.
Wow.
And
cool.
he said if Chainsaw Ape's ever in New York, to hit him up and we can come check out the studio. Swear to God.
I was in New York in January, you piece of shit. Why didn't you tell me that?
I don't know. I've got a signed copy of the 4 Toxic Avenger movies in one set from him.
Nice.
I don't know why. I'd never realized that. I guess it doesn't matter, but I never knew he was gay. So when he signed stuff, he signed.
Me neither, but he does have like that John Waters-esque vibe, you know?
He
does have
signed
a bit
stuff.
of a-
Your gay friend. Like, he says your gay friend.
I guess
Lloyd.
nobody else realized it either. He was like,
He just
shit,
he
I gotta
really
tell
wants
people.
everyone to know, yeah.
He was hitting on you.
Oh no, he was.
I think he does that for
Well,
everyone.
maybe he was. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the show. So the cast. Oh wait, sorry. It was also written by James Gunn. James Gunn. Now his writing credits are a lot more interesting to me than his film credits. His directing credits. He wrote The Dawn of the Dead.
The remake.
Yeah, didn't know that.
That was actually a decent
No
remake.
Shit.
The
Zack
live
Snyder
action.
movie.
Yeah, the live action
Wow.
Scooby Doo movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
13 Ghosts. I don't know if you guys saw that.
That was
90s
with
horror
Tony
film.
Shalhoub, right?
Probably
I think it's that guy's name.
the guy that's in Monk.
Yeah, I don't know. Never
I like
mind.
Tony
I
Shalhoub.
feel like
He was
we're
in
gonna be talking about each one of these movies.
Galaxy
like, well,
Quest 2.
Tony Shalhoub?
Yeah, wasn't he the engineer?
I don't know. I haven't seen
the
Galaxy
guy that
Quest.
played Monk.
You haven't
Yeah,
seen
that's Tony
Galaxy
Shalhoub.
Quest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you said I've seen Galaxy Quest. You said Galaxy Quest 2, so I
No,
took
no,
it as
no.
a sequel,
No.
and I was like, I didn't even
Galaxy
know there was
Quest
a
as
sequel.
well.
Gotcha. He also wrote the video game Lollipop Chainsaw.
Ah,
Yeah.
no shit.
Or at least adapted it for the U.S.
Oh, it's a localization for it.
Yeah.
I see.
It's one of those things. It's like, what are you doing, James Gunn? I mean, he's doing whatever the fuck
He's
he
killing
wants.
it,
He's
man.
living the dream. But
Anyone that's
Very
like
interesting.
anyone that has the cut their teeth making trauma films,
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. To
You
now
know,
have
I
a
think-
movie that's made like almost $1 billion in the box office.
What's up, Butterfly?
I've been thinking, like, what is it about Black Panther in this movie that are just so successful? And I think part of it is just these indie directors care about their fucking source material. They care about grading a script that is just from from good to beginning.
I think that's one of the cool things. It's like, yeah, we have people like Joss Whedon, who, like, granted, the first Avengers was the biggest movie he'd ever done, but he was like a small potatoes director. The Russo brothers, who directed Cap 2, Cap 3, Avengers Infinity War, like, they were TV show directors. Their first ever movie was Winter Soldier. So yeah, I think you're onto something with, like, let's just find the right person who has the right vision, and let's go with that person.
Well, I mean, no, that's not the case. We'll know that when we get to Ant-Man.
No, it's true.
Almost a fucking Edgar Wright film.
Yeah.
My God,
Yep.
Oh,
But
that would've been-
my guess is he had the right vision.
he did.
It was just
wasn't the
last
one that
minute.
they
He was
wanted.
like, "Nah, this
Edgar
So-
Wright vision.
Let's hold off on this
Yeah.
conversation until we get to it, though.
sounds good." Our cast.
Come back later for our review of
Yeah.
Ant-Man.
Check out our
Which is
Ant-Man review.
when.
It's I don't
So
know. A
after
couple
this,
weeks away.
after this, we got Ultron.
After this is
then-
Ultron, and then I want to say Civil War, but that
No,
no
they didn't come out
Ant-Man
back-to-back.
after Age of Ultron.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So Ant-Man will
Alright.
be in 2
Ant-Man's
weeks.
in 2 weeks.
Or if you're watching this on YouTube in 4 years from now, if you're watching this in 2021, it's already out, baby. Check it
yeah,
out.
Ant-Man is the last of Phase 2, according to Marvel.
Yeah. Yep, and then Civil War kicks off Phase 3. So our cast includes Chris Pratt, fat Chris Pratt, guy from
Not in
Parks
this
and
movie.
Rec.
Oh
No, not in this
my
movie.
God.
He's a handsome fellow in this movie.
And I just got to say, I went into this movie incredibly nervous because I was a huge Parks and Rec fan. And
So
I,
good.
I was
First time you
like,
watched it?
the first time I saw
Yeah.
it, I was walking into it and I was like, man, I love Chris Pratt. He was just a brilliant character, but how can he possibly be Peter Quill? And I
Yeah.
walked out of this movie saying, how could anyone else even consider trying to be Peter Quill?
It's one of those things
It
where
was
it's like,
almost
why
Glenn
is Chris
Howerton.
Pratt in every fucking movie now?
Yes,
And it's because of
true.
Guardians of the
Oh
Galaxy.
yeah, that like Glenn Howerton, the guy who plays Dennis and It's Always Sunny, was like second choice for this role, and I'm sure he is fucking just pissed because like when you see the role you almost got and it completely brought like obscurity
changes
to
your career.
insane stardom.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody talks about Robert Downey being such a gamble. I think the gamble was Chris Pratt.
I think they take a
I
lot
still
of
think Robert
gambles.
Downey was a gamble,
This one really paid off,
for sure.
as well as Robert Downey.
The
And
only,
I'm
like,
glad they tried it.
The only for sure, like, you guys nailed it, I'm so excited, was when they got Edward Norton to play the Incredible Hulk. And boy, did they not nail it. That was the only one that I was like, fuck yes, Edward Norton playing Bruce Banner, this is perfect. So Zoe Saldana as Gamora. Holy jeez.
I know.
I think of all MCU characters, I have the biggest crush on green ass Gamora. There's something about her.
If Pepper Potts died, sure.
Nah,
You know,
to me, she definitely
my-
is hotter than Pepper Potts.
I love the character Gamora, but I feel like her makeup just looks like paint. It doesn't feel like a real
I
skin.
disagree, man.
Oh, I
man,
disagree
it's-
completely.
I would. Never mind.
See, well, so
I would
Listen to
prefer
the
it
show.
green.
So here's the
legitimately.
thing. She becomes this character for me. Like, I have a hard time, like, whenever I run into this actress in the wild, I have a hard time remembering, oh, yeah, that's Gamora.
Yeah.
Until
that's the
she,
girl
like,
that was in the original Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
to bring up the
exactly.
movie we
And
talked
that's what
about.
I think. But
This is
then,
the thing.
yeah.
The reason the green really throws me off is you look at Drax. And even if you're not looking at it, look at Hulk. They don't feel like their makeup is painted on. Hers
Well,
is the
Hulk's
only one that
makeup
feels
definitely isn't painted on.
Hulk's makeup is computer generated.
Yes.
And I imagine,
But when you say it doesn't feel like it's pan, well, to me it doesn't. So like I don't know.
I'm afraid it doesn't feel that way to me either. It totally.
Sorry, this is another Iron Man 3
fine.
situation.
She's still a great fucking character.
No, she is. She's a 10.
She's not as good as the next one that he's about to name, though.
Dave Bautista plays Drax.
There you go. That's my man.
Oh my god.
There we go.
And you want to talk about a risk and a total surprise?
I thought he was going to say Nebula.
Nebula's another person.
No.
We'll get to her in a second.
And I just want to call out that not only is he an amazing actor in this, it led him to be an actor in the Blade Runner movie, which he was
he's so
phenomenal
good in Blade
in.
Runner. Yeah.
So
And-
I respect him as an actor, and that is unexpected.
For sure.
Let's not forget, he was in 007.
Too late. I already did.
I forgot that. Yeah.
I've already forgotten.
I never knew that.
Vin Diesel is the voice of Groot. For some silly reason, I didn't get the people who did the mocap for Groot or Rocket, even though we know who Rocket is, or I'll be talking about that. But I did not think to write down the guys who does the mocap for Groot. But yeah, Vin Diesel does the voice. Whatever. You know,
I mean, it was good, but
like
yeah,
realistically,
it's
it's one of those things that's like, man, you guys spent way too much money on getting Vin Diesel to do this.
On the other hand, he did deliver. Every single line that Groot said, had
every
its
single
own...
time he said "I am Groot," it had weight to it.
It had weight. It did, and that's a hard thing to pull off.
DKP's coming up from this from a joke angle, but the truth of the matter is every one of them felt differently.
I do mean that it did work though.
Especially, I just got to call out like when Rocket and him are having a conversation, and he says, They do disrespect us, Groot. And he says, I am Groot. That is more than 11%, but... Anyways.
Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket Raccoon. You don't like Bradley Cooper, or you don't like Rocket Raccoon?
I just don't like the fact that they took it from like an Australian accent, like Cockney slang.
Gotcha. It's just you're a Marvel
Brooklyn.
vs. Capcom 3 fan.
I mean, it's not just from there. But like... That being said, Bradley Cooper did do a good job with it, though.
I like the whole like Brooklyn accent kind of thing he's got going on.
I felt like he really pulled it off, and it was a hard role to play. And he honestly has more lines in this movie than he really does carry a lot of this movie. So I respect his accomplishments.
Lee Pace is Ronan.
Whatever.
Lee Pace.
Whatever.
Lee Pace is a great actor. If you guys have seen, there's a TV show. I can't fucking think of the name of it, where he makes pies. I can't.
Man,
I know.
I'll make sure to not watch that piece.
No,
of shit.
it's actually it's a really good show. It's the guy who did Hannibal, and he did
Brian Grazer.
Cake Boss. One of those.
He created Hannibal. He also created Dead Like Me. He did those kind of shows. He does the show that Lee Pace is the main actor, and he does great in that. Michael Rooker plays Yondu Udanta.
Man, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer fame. Coming all the way.
I really enjoyed him more this time after seeing Guardians 2.
I was about to say, I like him much better in Guardians 2.
I would have to agree. I liked him the first time, but...
And
he's just kind of whatever to me in Guardians.
In Guardians 1. But I enjoyed him more in Guardians 1. He had a little more depth. Like... I could see that they were laying the seeds for Guardians 2, but in this movie itself,
yeah. Karen Gillan plays Nebula.
So that's just bizarre to me.
Like, she plays my favorite companion from
Amy
the Doctor
Pond.
Who. Yeah, Amy Pond.
So
the latest Doctor Who run.
2 Doctor Who runs back. So
sorry, when I say latest run, it's always I have a very difficult time figuring out how to decipher the show from 1960 to 1990 and the show from 2003 to current day. And that's what I meant by it. Is that when I mean the current run.
Oh, you mean like the one since
the one that
90s,
started the one that
or 2000
since Christopher Eccleston.
Yes.
Like that, I consider that the start of a new run.
I get you.
If there's a better way that I can figure it out in my brain.
Well, I would have to say that this particular discussion is like 3 levels of geekiness above our typical level of geekiness.
Sure.
So I say we pull it back a little.
Well, I mean,
I figured it out. I'm going to call it the Doctor Who reboot.
I don't know about geekiness, but it's like it's veering into like really a big fan of Trains territory.
Yeah,
so
kind of is.
We should move on.
Cool.
I bet you would,
dude.
I bet you would.
It is shocking how good Doctor Who is. I was a Doctor Who. I was a Doctor Who hater for so long, and I always thought that Doctor Who fans were the worst. It's like anybody that you walk by their desk at work and they have a TARDIS on their desk.
Sure,
like
60 years.
Kinda.
Been on
they
for
took
a
a break
long time, yeah.
and they kind of rebooted it.
So here's the thing: I totally didn't know that she was Amy Pond. She was have a hard time pronouncing her name.
Nebula.
Nebula. No, Nebula. I got Gillian.
Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan. So I didn't recognize that they were the same actress, and that's okay. Like that character was so uninteresting to me like I was like, I would have thought I would be excited, but I just wasn't because
I mean, just the way that we've discussed it, to where every single time we get to a character, we're like, this person embodied this, or it was surprising how good they did, and it's like Doctor Who when we talk about Karen Gillan.
I thought Doctor Who was pretty fucking rad.
You're not wrong. Demon Hansu plays Korath. He's the one that's like, I'm Star-Lord, man, and he's like, who? He's that guy.
And underrated as character, by the way.
I think he was in Blood Diamond.
Yeah, that sounds about right. John C. Reilly plays Corpsman Ray.
Oh my god.
Or Day, I'm sorry.
Do you not like John C. Reilly?
No, he is just the best actor and the best. It doesn't matter what movie you put him in. He is just
John C. Reilly is either he's one of those people that I know that a lot of people.
Thank you for all the entertainment.
He's one of those people that a lot of people I know don't like John.
Really?
I've yet to meet someone who doesn't.
And I don't want one of them.
Do you know my good friend Festus?
Fuck Festus.
Seriously?
He does not like John C. Reilly. And that whole group of friends that I have doesn't like.
He has this odd sort of honesty to him. Like everybody else in the movie, like he'll just sort of drop into these statements that you can just wholly relate to. Like you can I've had the conversations he has in this movie, I've had those conversations before in my life, and they've been as meaningful as when he makes them.
What I like about John C. Reilly is he looks like somebody that everybody just knows. He's just an ordinary looking dude.
Yeah.
He's not like insanely handsome or anything like that. He's one of those people that's like, this motherfucker.
Says the guy who gets creeped out by Robin Williams' face.
Are we gonna go down this?
No, we don't.
All right. Well, you should have thought about that before you brought it up. Because we can go down this pathway if you want to.
Don't fucking threaten me with a good time, all right?
Listen.
Anyways, let's talk about John C. Reilly.
We winter soldiered hard last time.
He's actually like a solid ass actor too. If you look back in a lot of older mob movies, he always plays mob cronies.
He does.
Yeah.
He has like that Irish afro, the fucking curly ass shit. But then when he became a comedic actor, he's one of those actors that everything is in the delivery.
But see, that's exactly it. And like
completely.
I don't want to go into the details, but the moment where he has the conversation with Nova Supreme, I think that's her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he goes, honestly, I don't really buy into anyone's 100% a dick.
See, that is such a conversation that I would have had with the guy, you know? And when she turns to him and she says, "Yes, but do you trust him? Do you think he's going to save us?" And when he just says, yes, I do. Like, I genuinely believe that he was in that moment.
Yeah. He's the person that, like, because, like, granted, yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy saved the day, but if it wasn't for him, like, Xandar would be fucked.
It's true.
So,
they saved the day, but I'll tell you who saves this movie, and that's John C. Reilly. It didn't need saving, but boy, did he solidify that it lands.
That moves us nicely to Glenn Close as Nova Prime.
She was pretty good.
Yeah, no, she was great.
Kind of a throwaway character, but like put Glenn Close in there. Cool,
and
man.
She made it her own. Like,
whenever I think
it's
hard to follow
Prime,
the conversation about John C. Reilly, you know.
It just always surprises me that it's always surprises me that Marvel can get these fucking accomplished actors in these movies. It's insane.
All they need is Susan Sarandon, and we're good to go. Benicio del Toro plays the Collector.
Kills it once again.
Yep.
Totally alien dude.
Yeah.
He's way better in this than he is in Star Wars.
That's his speech, like just mannerisms in general. It's fucking weird and sounds foreign and alien.
I'm not a huge fan of Benicio del Toro. He like kind of creeps me out, which I think that's kind of supposed to be his thing. But the Collector, I feel like, is like it's perfect casting, getting him to play the Collector.
Absolutely.
Similar to the person that they got to play his brother in Thor Ragnarok. We'll talk about that in a couple months.
I had no idea that was his brother.
Again,
okay,
that super worked for me. Like when I was watching it. I'm sorry, Adify, I cut you off.
If you're a Benicio del Toro fan, watch The Way of the Gun.
That's a great movie.
With Juliette Lewis?
So good.
So, watching this after seeing Thor Ragnarok, I genuinely appreciated how well both of these actors work together. the two of them played off of each other in completely separate movies in a totally believable way. Like if you come to me and say these guys are brothers, there's no question in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, well of course they are.
If you guys are unsure who we're talking about Jeff Goldblum's character in Thor Ragnarok, the Grandmaster. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about more of that in the future. Laura Haddock has a short, tiny role as Meredith Quill, Peter Quill's mother.
Oh,
Peter,
Old Baldy.
come here, baby.
Take my hand, child. Take
Sean Gunn.
you guys are making fun of that part in the movie that just made me want to cry.
That
and
part's very sad.
No,
Sean
because
Gunn.
the way he's interpreting the character is not the way she was acting.
No, that's absolutely. She's like, come here, baby. Let me give you a present. I got a present for you,
She
baby.
did have that like
Like she's
Southern
from
Belle
Louisiana
accent.
in the 1940s.
She did sound like that now that I think
dude,
about
go
it.
back and rewatch that movie.
Peter, come take my
I will
hand.
not let
telling
you
you,
people
pay
ruin this
attention-
movie for me.
Pay attention to
No,
her
that
accent
scene's
in that movie.
effective.
No, it's a very effective scene. It's really good.
It is.
Sean Gunn, who is James Gunn's brother, plays two characters. He plays Kraglin, who is one of the what are they called?
Ravagers?
Thank you, Ravagers. Nailed
I
it.
took a guess, but yeah.
And then he also is the on-set Rocket Raccoon.
So he was being Rocket Raccoon on the set.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
for
Rocket
the
Raccoon. He
actors.
delivers all the lines on set and everything. They just
Yes.
he is Rocket Raccoon to all the actors in the movie.
Got it.
Like Bradley Cooper was hey, the movie's finished. Come in and record your
record
lines. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
same
thought
with, Vin Diesel.
he did a really good job, and I found out later that he was the director's brother, and I was kind of disappointed because I was just like, oh, that's a great actor, and he did really good at that job. I like seeing him again, but now I'm like,
I think
oh,
he's-
it's nepotism.
He's done a lot of movies for his brother.
Yeah, he
Well, I
pops
like
up
him
in
as
a
an
lot of
actor, and
stuff.
I think he should journey out
Step
on his
out.
own.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like him as an actor. I think his mocap is good, but as far as everything else, I'm not sure because I don't know what else I've seen him in.
Well, I just
Well,
mean
Oh,
like
wait, he was
all-
one of the
Experiment.
Ravagers.
yeah,
Which one?
he
like
was he was Yondu's second in command.
I've seen that guy in so many fucking things.
Yeah, he's
and
in
I
everything.
couldn't place him.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, now I know what you're talking about.
All right, I'm about to say an actor and a name that I do not remember. Peter Serafinowicz plays Denarian Saul.
Yeah, he's the guy that
Oh,
rocked
he's
it.
the one that's like
Broker,
a
right?
bunch of a-holes.
He's like
No.
yeah,
no.
he's the guy
Okay.
sitting behind Day, and he's the one who he was the guy who led the attack on the
The
big ship.
British fellow. Who's
Yeah,
like,
just
for the record,
yeah.
I do.
Yeah, he's the one who
trust you.
says,
For
"What a
the
bunch
record,
of a-holes."
yeah, that's the
Or I
guy.
advised against it.
And then I wanted to bring this up. Wyatt Olaf plays young Peter Quill. Wyatt Olaf also plays Stan in the new It film. The kid.
Oh,
Well, he did a fine job.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
I didn't notice it when I watched it this
Dude.
time. I didn't notice it then either.
Kid-
I just
kid's gonna
noticed
get
it when I got to
typecast.
IMDb.
Kid's gonna be
Man, I'm learning
typecast
shit
for
every
being in
day.
the '80s.
Yeah.
He's gonna be type. We can't play that because
Well,
you're not
they're
in the
gonna keep
80s.
milking Stranger Things, so eventually he'll find a permanent role there.
No, that's true. And eventually they'll get to the '90s.
I hope not.
All right, I don't know how far into this thing. We're pretty deep into it. DKP, what is Guardians of the Galaxy about?
All right, it's about a movie where this kid's has a tough break and his mom dies.
Baby.
Yeah, his mom, who's a maid back in like the early plantation area of Louisiana.
Yeah.
White lady though, by the way. Just pointing that out. And she's like, "Baby, take my hand, child, my strong hand." And he's like, "I can't do it. You're fucking gross, and you got cancer." And like, kids don't know that shit's not contagious, so he fucking bounces, right? Gets abducted by aliens, and then it's like fast forward. There's like happens to be an Infinity Stone that's just chilling about somewhere that no one seems to give a shit about, and it's just kind of unprotected. Because he goes and grabs it and is like, "Oh, I know some dude that kind of wants to buy this." Dude doesn't want to buy it, and then you meet up with all the characters. Everyone wants to get a bounty on him. So you meet Rocket Raccoon, you meet Gamora, right? That's the proper pronunciation.
Gamora?
Gamora.
She's got fine gams.
Let's see. They go to jail for fighting, I guess. They break out of jail due to fighting, I guess.
Great breakout scene, by the way.
Excellent.
Then what happens? Fuck, I don't know. You get introduced to some guy who comes out of a bath and people paint him, and it's like this is the main villain. Who gives a shit? I don't know. They fuck off somewhere and try to sell the stone again. It doesn't really work. Ronan comes and is like, "I'm gonna take the stone," and then puts it in a scepter and fucks off again. There's a lot of people just like leaving in this movie and just fucking off somewhere else. John C. Reilly kicks ass in this movie. I just want to point that out. That's a big plot point. They go back.
This is definitely
They go back to I don't know, fuck it, Earth, whatever, Nova Prime.
Xandar.
And, yeah, they dance and hold hands. And then the movie ends.
Couldn't have
Nailed.
said it any better. Nailed it.
You missed a lot of the like nowhere stuff, but it's called nowhere, so it makes sense why you'd miss it.
Exactly. That was
That's
that
okay.
was the cool meta message that I was trying to convey there. Completely intentional.
I do
Great job.
like that you included the dancing as being an important part at the end.
I mean, that's how they save the day, man, you know?
That's true.
I love whenever he's talking. Whenever, like, basically, I've got a list of them here, but all the different 80s isms that Peter Quill has whenever he talks about Kevin Bacon and Footloose or whatever.
Named Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Well, where do we want to start? Do you just want to start talking about some of the characters?
Sorry. Well, we just talked about all the characters. When we
Well, no,
went
I
to
mean
the
like
cast.
in more
So-
more in depth,
so
like
let's-
Star-Lord, not the
Well,
actors.
let's just jump into reviewing this movie.
Okay. I want to say that the first time I ever watched this movie, I was completely 100% sold on it. The moment I saw that dude kicking those poor animals and singing into them and shit. I get they were trying to attack him, but I was like, okay. And our main protagonist is kicking the shit out of little animals on a planet.
All right,
So that means this movie doesn't want to but perhaps make him look overtly nice. He's sort of an anti-hero looking guy. It worked for
He's
me.
a Han
Plus-
Solo.
Plus the music that was with it.
So here's what I'll give you, is that scene really did set the tone for this movie in a brilliant way. You start out in this very dark, foreboding, here's a land that was destroyed, cool special effects as we're recreating it, which, by the way, that is such a cool idea for
Yeah, that was
archaeology. You know, I'm going to go and, like, recreate the world and, like, oh, here's this poor child that you know was destroyed by some activity. And then he steps inside, he puts on
his
those headphones
yeah.
on, and the whole movie just changes tone entirely. It turns into this brilliant, fun Saturday Night Fever-esque.
That scene makes me laugh every time when he kicks that first one and then grabs it and starts using it like a microphone. It's so fucking great.
While animal cruelty is not my favorite thing, the
Well, I'll elaborate on why I like that. Not animal cruelty,
but the irreverence is to just the trope in general. Like if those were aliens bursting out of an egg to come and get you, and he fought them like a fierce, oh, I'm gonna kick you. But that's not what Guardians is about. Guardians is about having fun and doing what's right and being yourself.
like that scene showed me. It's kind of like just to compare it to something else very briefly. I think would let me make my point. Mass Effect 2, when I first played that was the first one when he punches out the reporter, and I was like, so you're telling me our protagonist, which I played as a guy, the game doesn't care that he punched a woman reporter in the face? And it's like, okay, they're willing to take. Like, I can now not predict how far they're willing to go with it, and that set the tone of Mass Effect for me, like for how bad my character possibly could be or good. And in this one, like, it allowed me to not be totally surprised, but like at the end when he's like, you know what it is, bitch, like that sort of thing. Whereas it made it a little bit more less trying to appeal to everybody, which it did anyway.
I'll totally concede the fact that you instantly know that he's a pirate type.
Yes, so I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
You
Yeah,
instantly.
it's not
that's
animal
the
cruelty
benefit
that
of
I
this
think is
movie.
rad, but yeah.
And it does it with all the characters. The first scene, you know exactly who they are. You knew exactly this Peter Quill guy just doesn't care. You know everybody by their first scene in this movie, and that is the greatest thing.
And so I really enjoyed the fact that our characters, I don't mean to jump in on you.
No, go for it.
So one of the things that really worked well in this movie is that all 5 of the main characters have an arc. And they all have their own arc, but they're all so similar to each other that they harmonize in this beautiful way. All of the characters start out in a completely different place from where they end up. All of their motivations are explored, and each of them has to make a decision to change their lives. And the movie handles it in such a non-preachy, enjoyable, summer fun ride way that it just brings you to this beautiful moment of realization of how this story is changing and affecting all of these characters.
I don't want to jump way too far ahead, but this movie gets right what Guardians of the Galaxy 2 gets wrong for me, which is what you're talking about, which is like all of the characters as individuals I don't want to say they're all super interesting. I mean, anytime, like, Drax is a cool character, but, like, his, you know, him just being like, I'm going to kill Ronan, and I'm going to take him down because he killed my family, like...
those aren't interesting, but I think his banter with the rest of the team,
but yeah,
where
like,
he fits in there, that's interesting.
I think that he
in
is
two,
a more...
oof,
although he does have, like, a... you know, anybody that's... Revenge stories are always awesome. Like,
It's
they
true.
are. Revenge movies are awesome.
They're good
Revenge
fun.
stuff is good. So that type of story for him isn't a bad story to have, but it wasn't like the most interesting story in the world. But it's definitely I feel like his story is, all of their stories in one are better than the other.
For
two.
me, his arc goes from the point where he betrays his friends. You can, like, the change for him happens between Nowhere and when he shoots Nebula. That's the point where he becomes a different character. And Nowhere, his entire motivation is about getting revenge, and he doesn't even think twice about betraying these new friends that he's made. And when we come to the end, he's sacrificing his life for a risk, and he's willing, and he thinks of these people he's with as his family. And that's the change. His revenge itself is sort of not the important thing that happens to Drax. What the important thing to him is that he heals from having lost his family, and he becomes someone who's part of a family at the end, for me. And that, I think, is what the story is. And Quill makes that point when we have the classic circle scene. So I told everyone, listen carefully when we get to Guardians of the Galaxy, because do you remember in Avengers when we had the circle scene where everybody was facing outwards and everybody had each other's back? And that's what the Avengers was about, is they were all on different sides and then they were all together. In Guardians, it's a much more subtle and dynamic. Everybody's facing each other, and they all have to agree to have each other's back. And then at the end, they stand up, and Rocket Raccoon says, oh, great, we're all standing. We're all a bunch of standing jackasses, which sort of breaks the tension of that moment. But
it also makes it like, that's a cliche-ass sort of thing to do, especially in a movie like that.
oh,
where,
absolutely.
But, like, it lets you know that the movie knows that, though, which...
Just real
kind
quick,
of
that was an
excuses-
improvised line from Sean Gunn.
No way.
Yeah, he improv'd that whole extra part where
Dude,
he's like,
I'm
we look
liking
like a
Sean
bunch of
Gunn more and
jackasses
more.
or whatever. Yeah.
But when Peter Quill says, we're all, you know what I see when I look at each other? I see a bunch of losers.
The locker room talk scene.
The locker room talk
halftime,
scene.
We got to come back and win this scene.
But when he describes everybody as losers, that's what this movie does right. These people are losers at the beginning of this movie. And I don't just mean people who've lost stuff. They're genuinely kind of loser asshole jerks, you know?
Yeah, and that's you could tell the exact moment where that's not true, when the dude's like, Star-Lord, he's like, hell yes. Because at the beginning, he is a loser. He's like, who? He's like, oh, come on, man, Star-Lord. But then when the guy finally was like,
When they see him again.
it's Star-Lord, he's like, hell yeah, they remember my name.
Finally. Oh, that was so satisfying. But I think you're right. There is the movie rewards not only us, but the characters for those transformations. And that's what I think makes those changes so utterly satisfying. And I would argue that is exactly what's wrong with Guardians 2, but we'll tell you about that in several weeks.
Yes.
Hopefully that's a movie that I'll like more upon second viewing. I was really drunk in the movie theater watching it, and I had to piss halfway through,
I
so
actually
missed some
loved it the
important
first time I
scenes.
saw it, and I almost hated it the second time.
So I sort of jumped to the end on this and said basically what I love the most about this movie, which is that sort of redemption
For sure.
story. But all the tiny pieces that go into that are just so enjoyable to get there.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Tom.
DKP has said multiple times for these movies, he's like, these movies are so long. Like, it's like, these movies are 2 hours long. And I'm just going to speak for you. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
What you mean is that they're not entertaining the entire 2 hours. Because they're like, Forrest Gump is an incredible film, but it's entertaining the entire 2 hours. Or 2.5, whatever. Like, a movie can be long and good at the same time.
Absolutely.
Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those movies that when it's over, you're like, it's already over?
It doesn't seem like any
Absolutely.
scene was a waste of time.
Yeah.
So true.
And that's, I cannot say that about any other Marvel movie, pretty much, that we've reviewed so far. To where it's like... And the other thing is, too, and I think the thing that helps it out with this is that it's so fucking different. Not just tonally, but I mean, like, every way possible. The soundtrack, there's no generic fucking, like, you almost don't even notice that there's music happening. No, it's a really unique incredible soundtrack. Like, it works.
That not only works, but is relevant to each scene.
Yeah.
Each song tells a story about what's happening in that scene. Can you imagine how hard that must have been?
I love the scene whenever he puts the headphones on Gamora and they dance together or whatever, and the song that plays for that is so perfect. I don't know the name of it, but I'm not going to sing it.
Well, I could probably tell you the name of it if you...
No.
No, just come on.
No, we're good.
Okay, fine.
But I do want to call out that her response when she starts
pelvic sorcery.
Pelvic sorcery.
Yeah.
My goal in life before I die is to have woman say, "Don't use your pelvic sorcery on me."
I know who you are, Paul Burns. Trying to tempt me with your pelvic sorcery.
That I could die a happy man if that happened.
Likewise. But no, let me continue on this. The movie is colorful. Yeah. There's not a lot of like drab gray.
It's true.
When they're on Nova Prime or Xandar, I'm sorry, it's so
Xandar
bright
is such
and
a beautiful,
colorful.
Beautiful planet.
It's
got a whole Star Trek look to it.
Clouds are all pretty and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gorgeous.
Like the scene where we're kind of meeting Rocket, Groot, not Gamora because we'd already met her, but basically where we meet Rocket and Groot and they're like looking around and they're making fun of everybody. That's when our Stan Lee cameo happens. The colors in that scene are like so
incredible.
Vibrant.
None of the characters are inherently okay. So usually there's the stoic ass character and there's like one comic relief. No, like they just kind of take turns, all like working out the individual roles for when it's needed. The movie goes from many different large set pieces that feel fleshed out and realized.
Oh, that's so true. And none of them are like ununderstandable. Even the ones that are like nowhere, where it's this complex space, you still feel like you could have been there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas like in Iron Man 3, it's just like, I'm in a giant Tinker Toy erector set. What the fuck? You know? But even Nowhere or the Collector's Room, which was just like infinite boxes, somehow seemed like a real space that I might inhabit.
Yeah.
Anything else that makes this like sets it apart from regular Marvel movies?
So all Marvel has had humor up until this point, but the humor in this somehow... And I was trying to think of what it was that make it stand out. It is a different writer, but it was just... So later Marvel movies steal the humor from this movie, hands down, definitely.
Yeah, especially Thor.
So
Ragnarok.
But I don't... And they even stole their color palette too.
They did.
But I don't know what it is about that humor that just stands out to me and is so unique.
It's because it's subtle, it's not also the same shit that you've seen 1,000 times.
To go back to Winter Soldier real quick, Winter Soldier, when I like describe Winter Soldier or when I'm talking to someone about Winter Soldier, like comic book movie is not the first thing that comes to mind, but like spy, espionage, like thriller. And with Guardians of the Galaxy, it is a like outer space, like buddy cop comedy first before it's a super, I'm even hard pressed to call it a superhero movie. I mean,
it's a movie with I say Peter Quill is definitely a superhero, but it's more like a movie with superheroes in it than I don't know.
But I wouldn't even consider Peter Quill a superhero until we get to the end when he like grabs the Infinity Stone.
True.
Like he's just decent with guns.
Hey Tommy, not all heroes.
He knows how to use his.
Okay, man.
It's true.
Don't you know that?
I do know that.
Some of them wear very long leather coats.
I love, you mentioned the color earlier. I love how they all just like all their suits at the end when they like suit up, they all wear maroon.
Yeah.
It's such like an interesting color. And like the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comic books, that's not their color. So it's like their own original take on it. But unlike when X-Men tried to give an unoriginal take to their costumes in the 1999 X-Men movie,
this really works.
This works.
Yeah.
So this movie is so incredibly different from every other Marvel movie in such a good way that when I was watching it, I was having a pisser, just content with everything that was happening, content sitting on my couch, being forced to watch a movie that like not on my own time. I was content with it.
Being forced to watch a movie.
Well, like not on my own time.
You guys hear that out there? This is how DKP views this.
I mean, if we weren't doing this, I
podcast.
probably wouldn't have rewatched the movie. I rewatched the movie so I can get to the discussion, but. The only thing I could think was after this fun soundtrack, the colors, the humor, we're going straight the fuck into Age of Ultron, which could not be more
Monotonous and gray
way the
and
fuck in the opposite
snowy
direction. And I was like it's kind of like
what I was saying earlier.
You hate your job so much that on Friday the worst part is that you only have 2 days till Monday. It's like fuck.
What I was saying earlier, Age of Ultron is definitely a comic book movie, but we'll talk about that next week. Idify, was there anything that you want to talk about in terms of the review for the movie?
You guys hit a lot of the points that I wanted to make. Soundtrack, fantastic. My favorite thing was every character in this movie was unique in their own way, and that is just so great. It's like Star-Lord, you want to finish his story off. You want to finish Rocket's. Even kind of like Groot's end in this is just fucking heartbreaking.
Oh, Groot's story is
fantastic.
so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Especially, have you guys heard what James Gunn said recently, where Groot actually dies at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, he did.
Like he dies. That baby Groot or whatever is his son.
So here's my question.
And I always thought that was just like there was a part of him left.
At the beginning,
he's like a lizard. You cut off its tail and it just like grows a new tail.
But at the beginning of them going out, when they're all doing their putting on their outfits scene, which by the way, one of the best slowly walking towards your spaceship scenes ever. And I noticed for the first time this time that like they were all doing things like yawning and like pulling on their crotch.
Rocket was like adjusting his balls.
Exactly. But immediately before that, they're like getting ready and putting on their suits. Drax throws away his shirt because that's how it gets ready to go. God, I love the humor in this. So he, oh my God, I hadn't even put those together.
Really? What'd you say? That's why he never wears the shirt. Yeah.
He has sensitive nipples. That's why he throws his shirt
Spoiler
away.
alert for Guardians 2.
Guardians 2. You've just changed the whole movie for me. So, but the last thing that Groot does is he goes, and all his sticks stick out, and then he picks one out of his cheek. And it has a little growth on it, a little
tumor,
a little it looks like a flower blooming or a seed type thing, a bud.
Yeah.
So my question is that baby Groot? Is that what he was doing?
I don't think that's what I thought. Sorry, go on, Ivan.
What doesn't he eat the flower?
No, that's it during the other scene.
But whenever we see, I think it's the end of the movie.
Rocket has like a large stick.
He's just got a stick.
It could have just grown though. I don't know. But yeah,
it could have.
Because I had that same question.
Any piece of Groot that comes off, and if that Groot dies, I think you can regrow that piece.
Why don't they just have like an army of Groots then?
Yeah. I'd be collecting all those
That would be
pieces.
a ginormous pain in the fucking ass, which I fully appreciate.
That was such an incredibly touching scene whenever he's building that wall around everybody, and he's lighting it up with all the fireflies.
I hate to use this term as a man, but like it's pretty.
It is. No, it's,
and I was just like, I gotta
good.
watch Age of Ultron next week after
and
this.
Rocket, who you've only heard be an asshole for this entire movie, is genuinely sad for the first time ever. And
Well, he's crying, and then that little stick, that Groot little finger stick, like comes up and wipes his tear away. Oh, so touching. And then just the line, "We are Groot." It's like,
oh my God,
he can say more, and not like, I mean, we get it. We all get it.
Yeah, every character's story in this was fantastic. Like, I wanted Drax to fucking kill Ronan. I wanted Gamora to escape her father. Even fucking Nebula. You get that she's just a tortured character. Fantastic.
See, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about things I don't like so much about this movie.
Let's get to that.
There's still a couple things I do like. I'll hit them back up at the end.
There's a bunch more I like.
For sure. I want to talk about the action scenes. That's at some point. So
okay, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I think the villain is pretty flat in this.
Oh my
I think
God.
that's intentional though, because they give him so little fucking screen time.
It's true.
I don't know.
You
he
made
gets
fun
more
of his
screen time than
with how uninteresting he is. I don't see how that's not like they're not aware of that.
So like you made fun of his bath, but the truth is he's bathing in the blood of his enemies. So just
I had no idea.
Is that really what's going on?
Yeah. So the guy chomps his head off, and then the blood goes down in the thing. That's the pit he came out of. So
no, at the first time you see him, there's like blue liquid, and he's being like surfaced through it, and then it's people.
No, I thought he's a Kree, so he has blue skin.
He does have blue
But it
skin.
was blue liquid too, I thought.
Well, it was blackish blue liquid, and it's
I
the
see.
same color of the liquid as the guy whose head he smashes that goes and fills the pit.
Yeah,
so
I didn't know that's
he's
what was
been
going on.
sleeping in the blood of his enemy. So just that is kind of like super creepy. But the fact that I had to explain that fact is the failure of this character.
The character, yep.
And I think that like his actual story is actually, I think, kind of interesting. This movie just didn't take the time to tell us that story.
Yeah, because what the fuck are the Kree? Like, what's their deal?
They're just a race.
I
They're
know,
an
but,
alien
like-
race.
So
I think
they're-
I think
we'll find out
Novacore
more about them in Miss Marvel.
And Infinity War is going to be all about him.
and they also touch on them in Agents of Shield.
Yeah.
But I think the deal is, and it's explained in the movie, but I don't remember it 100%. Basically, like Novacore or Xandar or something was in a war with the Kree, and they won.
They didn't lose, so they pushed them back, and they retained
They basically
ownership.
wiped out the majority of the Kree, right?
No, that's the even better part. Like, that's the part of the story I liked a lot. So, and I wish they would have told us. They didn't even. All they did is not die, and that shamed all of his father, and his father's father, whose job it was to crush Xandar. Their job was to crush. So they would go and they try to
Gotcha.
crush him. Xandar survives. They are dishonored, and therefore, that's the thing that he was mad about. It wasn't that his people had been killed. It wasn't that. It was just that his father had been stopped from doing his violence the way he wanted to.
Okay.
That was
Have-
my
I wanna
understanding
see
of
these
it.
movies with you.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Anybody out there listening, correct me if I'm wrong.
watches these movies in the news.
But you're bringing up you're bringing up kind of the point that I was
in the
leading
nude
to
right now.
that I was talking about is like
yeah, we all are. That's
these
the secret of- that's our
characters.
secret.
Ronan is not.
That's my secret. I'm always nude.
He's a couple of steps higher than like the Dark Elves in terms of like how interesting he is.
True.
Like he is his motivations. They make sense when you talk about them. They didn't make a whole lot of sense to me
In the
beforehand.
movie, absolutely.
And we
agreed.
talked about last week with Winter Soldier where it's like there are ramifications for things. Well, the way that he like talks to Thanos and stuff like that, he's clearly like
So that
not,
part was actually confusing to me.
He just doesn't get it.
So he's not mortal. That's the thing that he says. He says, like, when they grab the stone at the end.
Yeah, no mortal. Like, what? How
Well,
can you
you're
do
no
this?
mortal.
Yeah.
You can't hold on to that stone. Blah blah blah. So, it made me a little confused because I was like, wait, are you immortal? Is that what you were trying to tell us? We don't know. Like, how long's this guy been alive? Does he? What? We don't know.
As far as his motivations, like it worked for me to some degree because there was one line where they were just like, he's a Kree fanatic. So so I just pictured it like, okay, well, there's a peace thing, there's a ceasefire, but it's like the I don't know, the IRA or something where it's like just a rebel faction who just still wants to just fuck shit up. They don't want peace, and like that's kind of what I think they explained it as.
I think so. They just didn't give us enough to care
It was still
about it.
uninteresting.
Yeah.
I will say that. But I think, like I said, I don't see how that's not intentional. Because, like, the fact that he's so stoic and uninteresting of a character made the scene where he's dancing at the end and he's like, wait, what are you doing?
So let me give you the
Like,
total
funnier a little bit.
unfair assessment, and that is he's not Killmonger. And now that I've seen Black Panther, I don't think any villain is gonna be
For
able
sure.
to stand up. Like,
Totally.
I watched it and I was like, my God, here I started telling myself, here's the story you could have told about this bad guy that would have made him interesting. It would have made me care about him getting defeated.
It's one of the things that like Guardians of the Galaxy was definitely like in my top few favorite, and it still is. But watching these movies this time with the purpose of like critically looking at them and looking at the villains and looking at the love interest and looking at all of these pieces, the action set pieces, things like that. Like to me, that this is an area where the movie like is not as good as I recall it being, or it's not. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. My score is the same. Like it is still incredibly good.
I'll agree
but
with you
it
on
is-
I agree with you on the villain part.
He's not as
Definitely.
strong. I think all the stuff you're talking about makes him sound fucking awesome.
But they didn't spend any time on it in the movie, so I don't think you should get credit for it.
For sure. And then when we get to Nebula is, although her story is not super cool in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it at least like makes her character matter
Relevant.
more.
Yeah.
Where in this is just like, she's just a lackey. She's very similar to the Winter Soldier, except her backstory doesn't matter in this as much as like the Winter Soldiers did.
Yeah, I found her to be totally uninteresting, which is really hard to do when you're Amy Pond and you're blue. I should have loved her to death,
bald,
I just
too.
didn't. And bald.
Yeah.
That's why Peter Quill couldn't kill her. He's
I like
reminds me of my
Sinead
mother.
O'Connor.
Did you guys notice that Ronan kills the Chitauri leader in this?
I did.
The guy that when we reviewed Avengers, I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? He doesn't even have a name. He's just he's credited as the Chitauri leader." And then
Ronan just
Ronan
kills
just
him.
fucking kills him.
I guess not.
I didn't even
'cause
notice.
I still don't know who you're talking about.
He's the one who
He's
is
got
with
multiple arms.
He's with Thanos.
He's the one who gives the gives
Oh.
the rod
The scepter
to
Loki.
to Loki.
in Avengers.
Okay.
And so I did want to call out one thing. The first time I saw this, I had no clue. It was only like I've seen this movie a bunch. This time was the first time I realized that these were the same bad guys that were in Avengers.
Yeah.
I
me
had
too.
no clue.
Yep.
But then I thought, oh, of course it was. So the guys with Thanos and like, oh yeah.
The Kree?
No,
Oh,
the
Chitauri.
The Chitauri.
Okay.
the Chitauri. All those necro.
I was like, wait, they're not
ships and
bringing them
stuff?
back again for Avengers 3.
No. I was
Okay.
just saying
Like,
that
no.
this one, the faceless bad guys were the same faceless bad guys.
It's
Sure.
the one that like when Yondu and all those people land on Xandar
and he talks at him with his gross mouth.
Yeah. And Yondu he like whistles out this thing and he like flies through everybody and fucks them all up. Those are Chitauri, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was
They're just
surprising
wearing
to me
different
they were
armor.
the same guy. Yeah. They're well, not
No,
this-
they're not Chitauri. They're
Oh.
Kree.
They're not Kree.
They're not Kree.
Are-
They're definitely not
Kree. Are
Kree.
blue.
I'm not
So,
saying I'm not 100% sure they're Chitauri.
I'm not
just based on
100%
what
sure.
Ted is saying.
I-
I can take. They're definitely not Chitauri. Ronan does kill the Chitauri leader, but everybody that you see that, like the guys that first apprehended Peter Quill, those
like,
are not
the ones he calls
Chitauri.
Ninja Turtles. Get your hands off me,
Yeah.
Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. Well, no, the ones.
I know for a fact they're not Kree because Kree just look like humans. But
yeah, but they're blue. So okay, so maybe I'm wrong, but I think they really were the
comes the
same.
Kree.
We're gonna have to do some research on this
Yeah.
because I think that they really were the
My
Chitauri.
guess is that Idify is in the midst of it right now.
That would be cool.
I'm more than positive they are not the Chitauri because in the big
And I'm more
difference
than positive they're not the
when
Kree.
you go back to I probably agree with you on that one. When you go to the Collector, the one person that's in it, well, he has a Dark Elf and he has a Chitauri in there.
Yeah.
Well, we can look this up later, but my point is that I found the faceless enemy in this one more interesting this time than previously.
Yeah. The Ninja Turtles.
The Ninja Turtle.
Get your hands off me, Ninja Turtle. DKP, you want to talk about the action?
Yes, with the exception of the final in scene, which was like
Not really an action scene, just a dance off.
no, I'm talking about the assault on
Xandar.
is it
You didn't like
Xandar.
that?
on Zambam? Yeah, no, not really.
Really?
I thought it was kind of boring. Because that's the sort of shit that's very reminiscent of shit we've seen before. Space battle, a lot of like giant bugs flying about. Them, we've seen that before. But scenes where, okay, a good example was the first battle on Xandar, where they're trying to take down Peter Quill for the bounty. That had a very much like swashbuckling rogue-esque.
Yeah.
Everyone like using their own particular tools. No one had the like better of anyone like super in particular. It was a very interesting fight scene. Whereas I don't know, it was like a fight choreography that mixed comedy in with it as well, which benefited the movie.
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
like
of the
physical
scenes
comedy.
were like that, to where the fighting was interesting based on the characters, and it wasn't them just in spaceships.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that the action in this movie is on par with like anything that Iron Man or Cap or even Thor does, but I think it's better like because it's not those. It's not like super badass doing backflips and stuff like that. It's like you mentioned, it's like pirates.
yeah,
They're,
him
like,
on his back,
brawling.
throwing on his little jet boosters on his feet, and then
Yeah.
crashing his fucking ass into like the side of the
It's like
the mountain. Like, it's not graceful, it's not perfect.
yeah, it's like whenever
and that's
we were
what
talking
works.
about the superhero thing. Like they're definitely more heroes for saving Xandar, but I definitely wouldn't call them superheroes until, of course, we get to Peter Quill being half god.
But yeah,
Dun,
so
dun,
that's in
dun.
particular why like I thought the action was really great in this. It was different, it was unique, and it was shit that played a lot differently than most Marvel movies. So,
Yeah, for
it was
sure.
entertaining through and through, minus kind of at the end. What up, Peb?
So they were not Shatari, they were Sicarian.
Sicarian.
Oh,
And I actually,
Shatari.
what's really
Sicarian.
funny is I
Wow.
actually have them on this sheet as Sicarians.
Oh, there you go.
If we
That
would, if I could have just,
Sicario.
if I would have just moved forward a little
yeah,
bit.
man.
Anything else that anybody wants to say before we score this bad boy?
I just want to counter to say that I loved the last scene. I thought it was really interesting.
I wasn't miserable.
It's not a
in
bad
it, I will
scene.
say that.
I liked the fact that they talked about their strategy and that their plan had to change as they failed to do things that they needed
Dude, when
to
all
do.
the Nova Corps ships like hook up together and form that net, that shit was so awesome. And then it failed, and like thousands of soldiers lost their
All
lives.
died
That was
all at once.
insane.
And I like when Rocket defends the Xandarian people and his relationship to Daenerys changes. That was satisfying to me.
There was a line that I was looking for in this movie, by the way, that I didn't hear this time through, that I remember in theaters. And it was a scene that made me laugh pretty hard in theaters. So did you guys have this? Where it's right after I think they kill Ronan. Or allegedly kill Ronan. Like in the ship, they shoot him with the Hadron Collider thing or whatever. And Drax is like, yes, my friends in the green whore. And
It's when they're. It's before they shoot him. It's when they're walking toward. When they're trying to.
That's when he
it's when
shoots
they land on the
Nebula
ship.
with the rocket launcher. She says, "You will stop," and that's when
yeah,
Nebula
I
interrupts
remember that
him.
being a really funny scene,
It's-
but that wasn't in my cut of the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
It was in
No,
the one
well,
I saw.
It's not like right by an action scene. It's when they're all.
I remember about when it was, and I was
They're all
waiting
walking
for it.
together. They're all walking, and
It's-
Star Wars carrying the
it's
big thing.
right
and,
after
and
Groot
Drax
made the
talks
light.
about like how he likes each of the people. It's when he's saying like, you're basically when he calls them all his friends, and he goes through the line and he's like talking about Peter, or whatever. And then when he gets to Gamora, he calls her a green whore.
Yeah, that scene wasn't in mine. Even him talking about the other characters.
Well, maybe you should actually buy one of these movies instead of illegally downloading.
I'm not illegally. I'm watching someone else's copy on a media server. Dickhead.
That was probably illegally downloaded.
No, it was a Blu-ray rip. That means he must own it.
I own
That
it.
was probably
I own it on
illegally
Blu-ray,
ripped.
and that scene's in there. So
It was in mine.
I'm just giving
Well,
you a
what
hard
the fuck
time,
ever,
baby.
man.
Maybe
It was
maybe
in
you just
my-
zoned out. Maybe you got a text message from somebody.
Must have been a
Maybe
long ass
You
fucking
shouldn't
text
admit
message.
to-
I didn't admit to shit. You heard
No,
it.
he did not.
Actually, you know what? That's the point. You didn't hear it.
he did not.
Can we
admit
move
to
on
shit.
before we get sued by
Yeah,
by
sure.
Disney?
Anything else that anybody wants to bring up? All right.
One more thing. This is a dislike. There were a couple parts humor-wise that did not work for me. Only two that I can think of specifically. The very end when he calls him Turd Blossom, I thought that was really, really lame. Because it seemed
I'm
like
laughing right now. That's hilarious.
it seemed like I guess it reminded me of like playground shit that people thought was funny, and all the other ones were like when he just called him a little bitch. That was
All right.
unexpected and hilarious.
So at the heart bursting moment when he says, "How are you able to do this?" and he says, "We're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch."
Yeah,
That actually bugged me.
really.
Yes, and here's why. I didn't think that was a proper cuss word. All right, so here's the thing. When I was, I'm going to tell a very tiny, quick story. When I was, let's say, 11 years
A
old,
wee lad.
my stepfather took me fishing at midnight, and it was like a big deal. And we were out on a rowboat, and we're fishing, and I caught a catfish, and like the rod bent all the way down into the water, and we reeled this catfish in, and this catfish was a foot long. It was the biggest thing. It was like a third of my size. It was immense. I pulled it out, and just as I was pulling it out, I was like, "Get out of that water, you bastard!" We pull to the water. Bert says, my stepfather says, nothing at all. We pull to the shore. We start talking about how to clean it. We start the effort of cleaning it. And he says, okay, well, there's one more important thing we need to talk about. And that is, you don't know what the ancestry of this fish is, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? He says, well, do you know if his parents were married? And I said, well, no, he's a fish. How would I know that? And he says, well, don't use bastard. Use fucker or asshole or something you can know is true about this fish.
Well, actually, I know. I can retroactively tell you this fish parents were not married. So you know what? Never mind.
You're just saying that fish was a bastard. All right. But my point is that bitch was not the right word for me at that
Imagine
moment.
little Pep saying that.
I thought
That
it was
would've been
hilarious because it's so unlike any Marvel character to just call another character like a little bitch. You know what it is, bitch.
But
that shit made me laugh so hard the first time I watched it.
This moment was such a serious, important moment.
That's why it worked for me. Is that it was
wow.
we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch.
So it's a tiny little thing for me, and it
worked big time for me. But the other part that didn't work is when they had the circle talk, and he's like, he asks the question, and then Groot says some stupid shit. He eats the thing off the side of him, and he does like the grabbing the bridge of his nose and like looking away. I thought that scene was really hammy and cliche. Like that's the sort of shit that you would see in a lot of other like Marvel scenes where it's an obvious like like the you got issues, like that was not a good comeback and not a good cut.
Work for you when Groot was drinking fountain water?
When he was like a dog and he's like, I just saw you do it. Yeah, absolutely.
That worked.
Yeah,
it's interesting. See, I saw him as sort of similar. So.
Huh, okay. But that's basically it. Those are the only issues I have with the movie, and that's what will stop it from getting a 10 out of 5.
You guys ready to score it?
I'm sorry, one more thing. Well, last thing, I promise. Gamora's character was sometimes inconsistent, where she did not sound naive at all about anything, but then anytime they brought up Kevin Bacon, her tone changed and was like the great leader Kevin Bacon, and she didn't talk that way like at all. So when it served the script that she needed to sound naive and not with it, not only did it do that, but she delivered those lines completely differently, like sounding higher pitched and naive. If you pay attention to that going back, that did not work for me.
I totally get where you're coming from, and to be a Gamora apologist, it's because her character, she is not like that at all until after the scene where she gets really close with Peter Quill. After she gets close with Peter Quill, like anybody that's ever been in a relationship, the person that you're in a relationship with has an imprint on you and kind of affects you and affects your personality in ways. So
it's such a scene that just isn't of any significance that I wouldn't even consider it a negative.
It's like one of those things where I don't know, like when you first meet people and you have this persona or you have this person that who you are, but then you get to know them really well, and then the real you gets to come out. And I think that like she is someone who has a heart and who loves and who gets excited about things and who is she has a childish nature to her.
Okay, Gamora apology accepted.
That she now has an opportunity to, put out there into the world.
I did like the fact, that's how I felt about it too. It was like she wasn't good at feeling about, she was inexperienced at being inexperienced with something. Everything in her life was just professional, solid. So this was like something.
So trying to be jovial sounds unnatural.
Unnatural to her, exactly.
Like I said, apology accepted.
Hey,
it's okay. You're the one who thought that the bad guy worked.
No, I said it was lame.
It's the fact that, he's kind of a nothing character who doesn't matter actually works.
I just think like Robin Williams has a fucked up looking face that weirds me.
We are going back to it.
So
Robin Williams is a strange.
What do you guys want to score this movie out of 5?
What do we think we're gonna score?
The
score sheet.
We'll squeeze this into Infinity War. We'll squeeze this into Ultron. Okay,
guys,
I genuinely
you heard
want
it
to
here
hear this
first.
Robin Williams thing.
We're replacing DKP with Taylor starting next week.
So
don't threaten me.
Somebody who actually wants to watch these movies is going to start watching them.
So I don't have the score sheets.
I think they're still at DKP's house. Do you guys remember what our prediction was?
I haven't seen this. Out of 5 was going to be a 10. I know that.
Yes, that was my prediction of 10.
Unironically, his is going to be a 10.
We'll just score it for this week. And
let me go and just score for out of 5. It's a 10. We'll go and knock that out now.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's let Idify score his own.
Honestly, I'm not even going to argue. He's completely right. This movie was fantastic. It's a 10.
Hey, don't you fucking ever doubt me again, Pebble.
I stand corrected.
Little bitch. See? It is funny.
Obviously, I've come to the realization that I'm watching these movies completely differently than everybody else.
I don't think you're watching different movies.
We're watching them nude.
I think that you just have a different review scale than we do.
Yeah, and I think that it absolutely works for you.
Yes.
I also want to just point out just as a little weird thing that no one else will understand, but I can't write Idify without putting an @ symbol in front of it.
Hey,
I just can't do it. So, Major Tom, how do you want to score Guardians of the Galaxy?
9.5.
5. BKP?
I don't mean to follow the trend, but 9.6. I liked it. I think a little bit more.
So harsh.
This time around.
So harsh.
And I am scoring this, and I told you
So harsh, a 9.6.
I told you at the beginning of this, when we got to Avengers, I said there was only one that was going to score better than Avengers, and this is it. This is a 9.9.
There you go.
I did not enjoy it as much as I had previous times I've seen it, but there's this is the peak of the Marvel Universe in my experience.
You know, I gotta applaud Major
Agreed.
Tom. He at least gave one movie a 10.
Which one?
Oh no, that was just a spite 10.
Oh, that's
Winter
right.
Soldier is
That's fine
actually
with
a
me, I'll take
9.8. Winter Soldier is actually a 9.8, but that was a spite 10 because yours was a spite. Well, I don't remember what you gave it, an 8. It was
Yeah, I gave it the same
Yours
as the
was an
original, yeah.
argument 8. It was like, you know what? Based on all this, I'm going from a fucking 9.5 to an 8.
No, but it was mainly because I never really thought of the villain in those terms until we actually discussed it.
Yeah, I'd have
But
had
like,
sort of a
Ronan-
spiteful bone
But
in his
Ronan
body.
the Accuser, definitely a way better villain.
But honestly, I mean, for
The
all
Winter
the
Soldier,
arguments
yep.
you can make about the villain, the movie isn't about Ronan. It's not. It's about the Guardians, and that's why it works. I can look
Sure.
that insignificant aspect of Ronan and see that this movie is about establishing the Guardians, and it did it so well.
And that's
Like, so
very true.
what made sense to this is the last defense I'll have for it. Him trying to be stoic, but none of the Guardians taking him seriously. That's why I thought it was funny that he wasn't like on their level with being like with quips or interesting.
No, I'll give you that. Like
was
that's
the fact that I want to have this Doom march where I just come in and do this, and they weren't taking him seriously at all.
what made the dance off at the end work
Yeah.
so well. Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a shitty character, but it didn't bother me as much as it normally would if they didn't play to that. So yeah,
Cool.
9.6.
Our reviews this week are brought to you by Sony Walkmans and Outer Space. Outer Space, actually.
And
paid for this
Maxwell cassettes.
episode. Nope. I reached out to them, and they refused to cover us on this one,
Oh,
so
well, there you go.
fuck Maxwell.
Is that really
cassettes.
all the product placement that's in this?
I didn't really look for any.
Okay,
I'm going to be honest. I didn't look for
all right.
But we were in space, so the chances are
Yeah, unless it's
Troll.
something that
I mean, you could throw Troll in there.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
guess you could.
Or whoever the fuck makes Trolls. Let's move on to the next segment. I'm a monster!
monster.
Does
Monster.
anybody know?
Sorry, I almost
So
forgot.
the I'm a Monster segment is about paying homage to Empire Strikes Back.
Oh shit!
When
I
Luke
wasn't watching for
Skywalker
it.
loses his hand. Every Phase 2 movie has a character lose their hand. Can anybody tell me who lost their hand in this movie?
I can tell you with 100% confidence,
Go for it.
it was Groot.
Correct.
Oh my god, that is such a cheat. Because his hand grows back. That is an unfair. I'm a monster. I object.
I mean,
Well-
Andy Serkis gets a fake ass hand. Come on.
Yeah. But
I mean, it is back in the next scene, so I'm kind of with you.
exactly. I mean, he like literally. He loses his hand like twice in this movie, doesn't he?
He gets,
I
well, I
only
mean,
saw it
if you
once,
if you
when Gamora
consider him
cuts
getting
off both.
blown
Gamora
up,
cuts him.
losing his hand as well, yeah.
This was the first time in Phase 2 where I caught the scene and I was excited that I saw it. I'm like, hey, that's the one.
Yay! Time to move on to Secrets of the Marvel
Universe.
Universe.
Yeah, I beat him to it that time. He thought I didn't know it was coming, but I did.
You're so skilled and talented.
Thank you.
I love you being involved in this. Number one, Chris Pratt's
Yeah.
references include Ark of the Covenant, John Stamos.
John Stamos. Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he?
He was referenced,
Man,
yes.
John Stamos gets brought up in the Marvel Universe repeatedly.
That's really
When are we
weird.
going to put
Now that I
John
think about
Stamos in the
We're gonna have to have our own
fucking
segment
movie?
about the John Stamos references.
Kevin Bacon in Footloose,
Now we'll just roll that into I'm a Monster.
There you go.
Ranger Rick,
I liked the Ranger Rick reference because I read Ranger Rick when I was a kid.
a Troll, which I mentioned earlier, like 30 seconds ago, Ninja Turtle.
Did you do Alyssa Milano?
Number two, his ship, the Milano, is named after his childhood crush,
There you
Alyssa
go.
Milano.
Man, Alyssa Milano though. She should be at Pepper Potts at some point. Or
Number
should have
three,
been.
the girl in the ship at the beginning is Barit, who has a run-in with the Hulk in the comics.
Oh, I do like the fact that they kind of put him as like a James T. Kirk character with always fucking alien women.
I like that
Yeah.
too.
I thought that was a good touch.
Number four, in the film, Drax mentions that Thanos was pulling the strings behind Ronan killing his family. In the comics, it was actually Thanos who killed his family.
Oh. Huh.
Number five, the scene where Gamora is dying and floating out in space. Peter puts his mask on Gamora. In the 100th issue of Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora takes over for Star-Lord and wears his mask. Number 6, Rocket refers to Peter's satchel as a purse. In The Hangover, Bradley Cooper makes the same reference to Zach Galifianakis' character.
I thought that was hilarious.
I didn't put that together. All right.
Yeah. Number 7, Yondu was in the first run of the Guardians of the Galaxy comic. He was one of the OG Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 8, we get a couple of references to the Celestials. In the comics, they're ancient space gods. Specifically, one of them, their head is used as the location for Nowhere. And then we also get to see one use the Power Stone whenever they're hanging out with the Collector, and he shows them those cool visions.
So I hope the Celestials make an appearance in Infinity War.
Oh, me too. So I have a question about that.
Yeah.
It's just a question of timing. Did anyone else here watch Farscape?
I did not.
I did not know.
So Farscape has a setting in it that is literally nowhere. It is the head of a giant monster that people are mining, and it's very dangerous. So my question is, who stole it from who? And
No clue.
does anybody know how old Nowhere is? Like, did it exist in the original comic? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can't say.
Sure. Number 9.
Someone leave a comment and let us know.
Yeah, please.
The Collector's goodies include, or his prisoners, or his collection includes, a dog that was used in a Russian test flight that was lost. His name is Cosmo, and in the comics he's known to be highly intelligent and can talk, and he has like a pretty bad relationship with Rocket Raccoon in the comics. They hate each other, and then in the movie when the two see each other, they both like growl at each other. Thought that was cool.
I do know in the comics that he eventually takes over Nowhere and he becomes the head honcho.
There's just something really swell about Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, that stupid ass dog taking over. Come
That's
on.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Number 9B, the cocoon that we see was at the time rumored to be Adam Warlock. Now, after Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Adam Warlock is rumored to be based on a post-credit scene that we see in
Billy
Guardians of the
Crystal.
Galaxy 2. Yes, Billy
He's
Crystal.
rumored to be Billy Crystal.
C, we see a Chitauri from the Avengers in there. D, we see a Dark Elf,
All right.
like from Thor. And then finally we see a Slug Bug from Slither. From James
Which
Gunn's
is
other film,
hilarious.
Did
Slither.
not even see that.
Yeah.
Number 10, cameos. Nathan Fillion voices the creature that Groot grabs by the nostrils.
I was watching for
In
him,
prison.
and I finally caught him this time, and I was like, oh, that is Nathan Fillion. It's totally got his voice and his intonations, and frankly, the way that he rolls around and cries in pain is just like Nathan
Just
Fillion.
like Nathan Fillion. The second one, Lloyd Kaufman is in the film. He's the creator of the Trauma films. Most popularly,
Toxic Avenger.
thank you. And yeah, he appears as a prisoner. Gunn got his start making Trauma movies. So James Gunn appears as one of the Sakarans. The guys that we were like, are they Chitauri? Are they Kree? I have it written down here. They're fucking Sakarans. And we're like, can somebody tell us what it
Who the
is?
fuck is Renee Creewedger?
So the one that actually talks to Yondu when he's like that gross mouth moving, that's James Gunn doing the voice and in that costume.
Oh, wow.
James Gunn's dog is in this movie. The scene that you talk about when we were talking about the beginning of the movie and they had the technology that can see what the place used to look like,
Yeah.
and we see a little girl walk by with a dog.
Yeah.
That's James Gunn's dog.
Oh, man.
And Rob Zombie is the voice of the Ravager Navigator. He doesn't play him. It's a completely different actor, but he does the voice for him.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
He's more human than human.
Finally, number 12. Now, this may happen way more in movies, and if I had like known about it or done some research on it prior, then we probably could have been looking for it beforehand. But the number 12 is for some reason really important to Marvel. So there are lots of references throughout the Marvel movies about the number 12. So Tony gives Pepper a 12% of credit for an idea.
I remember that.
And what was that? Avengers at the beginning of Avengers, he's like, yeah, you could have 12% of the credit. The plan in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's like, there's a 12% chance this plan will work. And then there's also another 12 that's brought up in Age of Ultron,
Which we'll get to in the next week.
So yeah, I'll bring that up. Yeah, on the next episode. And that's it. Let's move on to our friend Stanley.
Stanley.
Anybody remember Stan Lee's cameo in this movie?
Absolutely.
Hit me, Peb.
Let's hear it, baby.
Rocket Raccoon is using his iPad to attempt to identify potential bounties.
We're not sponsored by Apple. He's using a tablet.
Excuse me. He's using his
He's using
tablet.
a Sony Walkman.
He's using his
Those are
Sony
our sponsors
Walkman. And he's scanning all these people and talking about how they're all jerks and assholes. And he gets to Stan Lee and he highlights on him, and Stan Lee flirts with a woman. And then he says, "What a pervert."
He says, "A Class A creeper."
A Class
That's what
A
he says.
creeper. And then he
Class A
moves on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't particularly enjoy this
It
cameo.
was kind of a who
was
gives a
whatever.
shit one. It was
Yeah,
all right.
It was just, oh, look. And then you just move on.
It was superseded by the better line when he was talking about the little kid. He's like, it thinks it's so cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
When he
that.
talks
a
about
lot
that dude with the
more.
haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly why it didn't work, is that it was the least of all of those jokes.
Yeah. It was very on the nose, like, hey, look at Stan Lee. We're calling him a creeper. Do you get it?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to a segment that will pop up every once in a while on the show called Getting Your Rocks Off. We had a Power Stone on it, or I'm sorry, an Infinity Stone in this, the Power Stone specifically. So here's some information on it. It's the Power Stone. It is purple. The original containment unit is an orb. Its current location is Xandar, inside the Nova Corps headquarters. The previous owners include the Cosmic Entities, Eson the Researcher, Cosmic Beings, Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan the
I
Accuser,
guess he just forgot about that.
and then
He
finally
owned it
back
once.
to Nova Corps. So Nova Corps currently has it, which, man, I'm so excited for Infinity War. I cannot wait to see how he gets that fucking
I
thing.
was wondering, like, are we going to get to see Nova Prime standing in front of Thanos and Thanos goes, squash? Do we get to see...
I'll say this, as someone...
Denarian Day! Oh, no! He better be on vacation the week that Thanos comes to collect the stone.
John C. Reilly?
John C.
Yeah, John C.
Reilly.
Reilly.
Oh, no.
Maybe that's the death in Infinity War that's gonna like unite everyone to fight fight against Thanos.
It's the Agent Coulson of Avengers.
Everyone
3.
thinks it's gonna be Vision or some stupid shit, but no, it's John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly. It's exactly.
All right, so here's the description as provided by Wikipedia.
You know what? Here's a hot take.
Yeah.
Conspiracy. He is one of the Power Stones because he's a gem. Don't you agree?
You're talking about John C. Reilly
Yes.
still? Yeah, he is.
He's the Heart Stone. Like Captain Planet, the lamest one.
All right, here's the description based on Wikipedia. The Power Stone is an incredible power source. It increases the user's physical abilities and allows it to manipulate energy, which when used at full potential has enough power to obliterate an entire planet when unleashed. This stone was sought by Thanos, who tasked Ronan the Accuser to acquire it from the dead planet of Morag in exchange for destroying Xandar. Star-Lord acquired the stone instead and was prepared to give it to Tanalir Tivin, the Collector, with Gamora until its destructive power was unleashed at nowhere. Soon after, Ronan obtained it and harnessed its energy with the intent of destroying all life on Xandar and killing Thanos. Star-Lord and the Guardians were able to take the stone from Ronan and collectively harness its power to destroy him. They then gave the stone to Nova Prime Arani Rael, I guess that's her name, for safekeeping on Xandar. Now it's time for everybody's favorite moment, the post-credits get out your fucking checkbook moment.
Get out your fucking checkbook!
So,
Was that not too loud, Liz? All right, good. We did it good this time, boys.
I think there was a mid-credit scene,
There was only...
or was there only a post-credit scene? I have post-credits written here, but
I only saw a mid-credit scene. That was it.
Yeah.
So there were two.
okay. Well,
There was
Really?
yes, the first one.
God, there was two. The second one is just so awful. I try to forget it every time.
Not the Howard the Duck one.
That's
the
the
post.
second one.
What the fuck? What's
wait,
the
well,
dislike
so
about
First
Howard
one
the
Oh, yeah,
was
the
Baby
mid one-
Groot dancing,
yep, Baby
Oh.
Groot dancing to
And-
Michael
Which is
Jackson.
Fine.
and then Howard
Yeah.
the Duck.
Yep,
I
hanging out
found
with
it
the
to be
Collector.
acceptable.
Voiced by Seth Green.
So
Oh, shit.
I,
Not a fan of Howard the Duck?
I was so into seeing Howard the Duck the movie that I made my parents go and see it and in the
I
theater.
feel so bad for your parents.
Oh, by the way, we haven't even got one of these out yet. Shout out to Pep's mom.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out to Pep's mom. So I feel burned by Howard the Duck. That's all.
Gotcha.
You're
Wait,
like, Mom,
Pep,
come watch
what
this
was-
movie about a duck trying to fuck a woman.
Well,
I don't mean to get off topic too much.
I mean,
but
yeah, I
wasn't
could
there
see
a movie
how-
that you were embarrassed to tell everybody about.
I will need more
That
information.
there was I remember you telling a story where you were saying, "Yeah, I got everybody to watch this movie."
Highlander
and then
2.
it was
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Highlander 2.
So this is
Where
a
does
common
that-
experience in my life, is all I'm
Where-
saying.
okay,
So
my
when
question
Peviv
is, where
says,
does Howard the Duck
yeah,
fit near Highlander 2?
well, I would say Howard the Duck is slightly better than Highlander 2, but
Ooh.
only slightly. Both of them are likely to be seen in the pits of hell.
Alrighty.
So there are two things I wanted to bring up that I just remembered, and I apologize.
Go for it.
It leads into the upcoming movies, though. One is, I noticed this time for the first time that Rocket Raccoon saves Daenerys Day's daughter and
Yeah.
wife directly. Like, literally shoots the ship that's
Can we
about
just say
to kill
John
them.
C. Reilly?
John C. Reilly. She
Is that-
saves
every
John C.
time I keep thinking
Riley's
they're gonna say, like,
Red
Daenerys.
family.
Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah. I hit Targaryen, yeah. And I just thought that was super sweet, and it made that ending scene even more meaningful to me. The second thing I wanted to point out is that the thing I noticed this time is that this is the first time I'd seen this since Guardians 2. The gift that Star-Lord gives Yondu is the little troll doll. But here's the thing. That troll doll was actually a pretty good gift, because
Yeah.
Yondu collects
he loves those little
kitschy,
trinkets.
trinket
Yeah.
things. So I hope to watch for Guardians 2, because I remember seeing that little gem frog dude on
Yeah.
his thing. I want to see if that troll's there too.
You know it will be, baby.
I'm gonna be watching for it.
Just to go back to that scene real quick, I love when Peter first goes to visit that guy. I can't think of what his name was, but
The guy with the eyebrows.
yeah, where he says, "You got the best eyebrows in the business," and he's like laughing while he's saying it. That is such a great scene.
Brilliant. All right, those are the last two things I thought.
Yondu's smile when he opens up that troll, though, says so much about his
It
character.
really does.
Yeah,
Which we'll get to, I guess, more of that in Guardians Part 2.
best
Part
part
2.
of Guardians too.
No, yeah, it's the only part of Guardians 2.
Part two.
Not wrong. Okay, so normally this is where we talk. We have the segment where I go, "Hey, Peb, do you know what I see in your possibility? I mean, in your future possibility?" And then we all talk about what we think we're going to score the next movie. Well, we're doing something we've never done before. We watched both of these movies back to back.
We've certainly never done this before.
Never.
Not once.
Nope. We watched both of these movies back to back.
And we're gonna be. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
We're gonna be recording them.
It's a double
one after
feature
another.
tonight, boys.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, you're listening to this, and you're not going to get the next episode for another week. But just know that we recorded it on March 10th, 2018. The Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers: Age of Ultron. So we're not going to predict it. There'll be another day in the future where we do the same thing, but so we won't do it for those either.
So if you want to know what we think of Age of Ultron, you're just gonna have to tune in next week and find out.
Ooh, good plug, baby. So yeah, anything else that anybody wants to bring up before we close this bad boy out?
Yeah, Star Wars parallels.
Dude,
Fucking
it's-
awesome in this movie.
It's like Star Wars plus Star Trek. It's really it's an interesting but
almost
good. I'm just kidding.
Is kind of better than the first Star Wars.
I'm sorry, A New Hope?
Yes,
A new hole.
I have to disagree with you 120 billion %.
Pev's face turned
I'm
to complete
iffy on that
serious business.
Yes.
But
I'm sorry. You mean A New Hope? I'm sorry. You're incorrect, sir.
Confident I like this movie better than the first Star Wars.
Do I think that the world agrees with you? No, but I agree with you, Idify. As someone who's not a huge Star Wars fan, Guardians of the Galaxy is way better than any Star Wars movie. Yeah,
I'm
even
going to
Empire
refrain
Strikes
from
Back.
commenting.
Because you feel the same way, and you don't.
No, it just really depends on.
What do you like better? Empire Strikes
which one
Back
do
or
I have
Guardians
more
of the
fun
Galaxy?
watching?
No, which one do you like better?
If I had,
Probably
I would have to
Guardians,
say Empire.
I got. Yeah.
I will die on this hill.
A lot of people will. I think anybody out there listening is like, well, I'm never listening to these guys again.
Well, keep listening for Pebiv, because he's on your side.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Not from me.
Cool.
No,
Well, that's
I'm
it for
good.
this week's Preparation Avengers. Join us next week where we'll be discussing Avengers: Age of Ultron. Don't forget to like the video. It really helps us get the word out there. When I say like, I don't mean like have strong feelings in a positive way towards it.
Yeah, that's
we want you
how
to do that
always-
too. But what I mean is just
So
click
you
that
mean
like
click that
button.
button.
Yeah.
Dude, I've always been so confused about when people ask me to do that when I watch the videos. Like, please like this video. I'm like, well, I can't guarantee you anything.
Some people say
I've
that
yet to see it.
it's a man in a boat, and it's kind of hard to find, but I'm here to tell you it's worth the work.
I haven't heard it described as that in a long fucking time. But
Okay.
we can move on.
So
Tom,
yeah,
you-
give us a subscription on the channel, all that fun stuff. You can also follow us on Twitter, and you can watch us play video games on Twitch, all that fun stuff. One last time, our panel: Danny,
Yes, sir.
Paul,
That's me.
Alex,
Hey now.
and I'm Thomas. And don't forget, Baskin Robbins always finds out.